Shalom, shalom. Welcome to another episode of Sabbath Cast. Today we're going to be proving a few things. Most people celebrate Pentecost 50 days after the Passover, but today we're going to prove that it's really supposed to be celebrated 50 days after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is another biblical holy day. And I suppose that anyone watching this video would be familiar with some of the things, that we're about to speak of. So we're going to try to make this video as brief as we can. Okay, so this feast, the Feast of Pentecost, is called three different things. It's called Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks, and First Fruits. It's called the Feast of Weeks because it's celebrated 7 weeks after, or seven Shabaths, which is 7 weeks after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's called Pentecost because the root penti, right, represents 50, and it's celebrated 50 days after unleavened bread. It's also called First Fruits as it is celebrated after putting the knife to the sickle. Keep that in mind, putting the knife to the sickle, which is referenced in Deuteronomy 16:9, because it shows us, when, at what time in the year that we're supposed to begin counting, right, for Pentecost, right? Is it after Passover or after Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? So that's a little teaser out there. I'll just put out there. So that's reference to Deuteronomy 16 and 16th chapter. Okay. It's really just talking about putting a knife to the sickle. Is talking about the time that we be waving the sheaves, right? Which is another significant biblical event. The waving of the sheaves is a time that we would be very, very thankful to the Most High, right? We're showing great appreciation for the Most High. Keep that in mind. The waving of the sheaves, right? This is not something that we don't necessarily need to do anymore. This is something that can still be done in certain regions of the earth to this day, and we're going to prove that, the waving of the sheaves. But a lot of people here in North America that are Israelites kind of disregard the waving of the sheaves, right? But understanding what the waving of the sheaves is important when you're trying to determine, when to start counting for the Feast of Pentecost. All right. Is it, again, you need the waving of the sheaves to figure out if you're going to count, after Passover or after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay. Let's see what else. I'm just kind of giving you guys a brief synopsis. Okay, so a lot of people, a lot of Israelites, when they look at Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, they'll read through the whole chapter and they'll read about the Passover lamb, and then they'll read about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and then after that read about the waving of the sheaves, in which you read about another lamb, right? In that chapter of Leviticus 23. And most brothers and sisters think that lamb is a reiteration of the Passover lamb. Today, we're going to prove that that's not a reiteration of the Passover lamb. This is a completely different lamb. Keep in mind, today's concept has a lot to do with appreciation, right? Like the appreciation that the Israelites must have had coming out of that Red Sea, right? Being freed from slavery, right? And freed from, people that were trying to put them to death, right? So what did we do when we show appreciation to the Most High? We offer sacrifice, right? So we're gonna make all this stuff clear that this second lamb that you read about in Leviticus 23 is in fact not the Passover lamb, but we're gonna show you, and we're gonna make it very clear. I'm just trying to, and we got books that people haven't even probably read before, but we're gonna try to prove 99.9%. We're going to prove 100% of it in the Bible, but we're going to add some extra nuggets that are undeniable outside of the Bible. All right. Okay. And keep in mind, chronological order, right? In Deuteronomy 16, as well as Leviticus 23, you have a chronological order, right? You have the Passover, you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you have the waving of the sheaves, and then you begin to count. There's a chronological order. Just keep that in mind in both of those chapters, right? The Feast of Unleavened Bread, the waving of the sheaves, and the day of the waving of the sheaves And then 50 days after that, you have your Pentecost. I'm just trying to think and put it all together in my head right quick, what we're going to go over today. We're also going to prove that the Feast of Pentecost represents the fact that the Most High will never destroy the earth by flood again. Similar to the rainbow in Genesis, the 9th chapter, I think it's between 13 and 16. The Most High says that his bow, which we know as the rainbow, is in the sky, to remind us, right, that he'll never destroy the earth by flood again. But we can also prove to you that the Feast of Pentecost is also in commemoration of that. Which is funny because right around the time that we have our Feast of Pentecost, right around that, or in that season here, at least on this side of the world, it's funny that, we get a lot of rain here. And for those people that live in, places like Houston, like I'm from Houston, in which our rain is so bad that sometimes it'll flood so bad in certain areas in which we got to ride our vehicles on the sidewalks just so not to go underwater too much. You know what I mean? And so it's awesome that, we know that the rainbow represents the fact that the Most High will never destroy the earth by flood or water again. When you have those types of rains, there's been times just driving home in the rain in certain parts of Houston where it's like, I'm just hoping and praying that the Most High allows me to make it home. So he's such a merciful and kind power to, put that rainbow up in the sky for us. And that rainbow also represents the fact that he will never, ever forget Israel, right? But it's also because Pentecost, right, is in commemoration of that flood, and that it's never going to happen again, right? So this Feast of Pentecost is the real deal, man. It's a serious thing. Also, it's the day that the Most High gave the disciples power from on high. Yeshua came back after resurrection, and he told the disciples, man, tarry here in Jerusalem until the Most High give you power from on high. And that did not happen until the day of Pentecost, which we are supposed to keep every single year. And we always look for something awesome to happen right around that time. Right, well, like they say, right after Passover, but it's right after Pentecost. Every Israelite group that I've ever come across, or every person that's been a commandment keeper for some time is always mentioned right around after Passover. There's always some miracle or beautiful thing that happens. And so it's traditional. The Most High has always traditionally been known for having power come from on high around the time of Pentecost. But so we're showing you the significance of Pentecost. So that means we want to, celebrate this day as accurately as possible. We want to do this thing right. And we're going to show you that you don't begin the count for Pentecost after Passover. You begin the count for Pentecost after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You count 7 Shabaths or 50 days after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right. Let's see what else here. Okay. All right. So I think that's what do you think, champ? Just off the top of my head, is that a pretty good intro? What are you thinking, man? Anything else? Because I don't want to spoil the lesson. I hate when people talk without putting scriptures together. And so I want us to kind of just run through the scriptures on this one. You know what I mean?
I think, yeah, you got the majority of, and then the significance of Christ as well.
Talk to me.
Touch on that as well. Yeah, just as far as, obviously we know that Christ is our Passover. Christ is represented as that lamb. And then, keep in mind that lamb for Passover, and then the same lamb in the sheaves and the whole 9. But we'll go into that as well.
Please, I hope brothers and sisters will look at this lesson. There are brothers and sisters whom we love dearly that are, they're going to continue even after they might listen to this whole lesson and continue to celebrate, or start counting, for their Pentecost after Passover instead of after Pentecost. It is what it is. But our idea is not to, hurt anyone's feelings or to, sound disrespectful towards anyone. We have to teach the truth. That's what I respect about anybody who comes into the world nowadays and says that they're a Israelite, because the Israelite has never been a religion, right? It's a nationality, right? The ones who do that are the ones that actually did the research to find out what a Hebrew Israelite is and had the gumption or the courage to really just stand out and tell the world, listen, this is what I am. I'm no longer a part of the Christian church. I'm not doing things the traditional way anymore, because there's a lot of pagan things that we were a part of that we shouldn't be a part of. And standing up in front of family members and people in the community that aren't accustomed to seeing us make such changes takes a lot of courage. You know what I mean? So I respect people that, see truth and stand up for it. And we're not doing anything different. We just see something that we can prove within the scriptures biblically, and we're deciding to share this information with others. Whether or not people regard it is on them, but this is recorded, not just on tape or on digital resource, but in the heavenly realms, that the information is out there for all to benefit from. So whenever you want to get started, man, let's get it.
Kind of for sure. Also, slight shout out to the brother Dawiyad in Israel. Kind of put this idea in our head. It wasn't like, okay, we went with it immediately. We also had the same scriptures that most people have to come through and combat it, and all that stuff. So it's not like we just had a wild hair, or we seen it same day, we're ready to go. But it took a lot of what you'll see is a lot of research, a lot of points, a lot of precepts. Yeah, kind of back up the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to run through this, man, as fast as we can. So anybody that can't sit down for a long lesson, I'm the same way. So some things that, we can actually read through, we might just paraphrase some, because I want people to actually get through the whole video. And like I said, definitely big shout out to Dawiyah. Now, keep in mind, you brothers and sisters, this is how you do things. You deal with brothers and sisters with an open heart and an open mind. You know what I mean? When we talking to Brother Dawiyad, I'm sure we don't agree on all things. Some brother might be right on one thing and might be wrong on another thing. And that's why, like the Bereans, we try to prove all things. We search the scriptures to see if things are so. But this particular piece of information right here, the brother was definitely on point, and we added some information to the information that he gave us, and we love him to death, man. So yeah, Dawiyad, you're the man, baby. So let's get it going.
Starting off in the Leviticus 23. So Leviticus 23 should be known to most Israelites as like the holy day chapter. You want to know what holy day is at what time? You hit up Leviticus 23. So that's where we're going to start at, and we'll jump to 5. All right. So it's Leviticus 23 and 5. And the 14th day. Yep.
Go ahead. Yep. So so I'll read. You read for me on the Old Testament stuff, and I'll read for you on the New Testament stuff. You want to do it like that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, let's get it.
In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. And in the first day you shall have an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer. Yep.
So go ahead.
Where am I at?
Verse 8.
But you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord 7 days. And then the 7th day is an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
Right. So what we're seeing is 2 separate feast days, right? One feast day bleeding into the next feast day. In the book of Leviticus, in your Bible, chapter 23 and verse 5, right? You have the Passover, right? And then so at the evening of that day, beginning the 15th day, you bleed into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? In which we eat unleavened bread for 7 days straight, right? The first day of that feast is a holy convocation, and the last day of that feast is a holy convocation, meaning on that day, for example, you would have no intercourse, you men with your wives, you wives with your husbands, right? These are a special part of the holy day. It's a Sabbath. The first day is a Sabbath, and the last day is a Sabbath. Okay. All right. Where you at next? So now we're looking. So if you go and even if you on our screen right here, it's showing you a separation between the days. Okay. If you go up, let's see what happens when you scroll up to 23 and 4. Right there. Scroll up to 23 and 4 and see. Boom. See, even these people have common sense. They're showing you. So when you go to Leviticus 23 and 3, right here, it's showing you that's the Shabbat. That's the first Shabbat of the year, right? Then you have, let me see. right? Leviticus 23:3, the Shabbat. Then Leviticus 23:4, you have the Passover. Scroll down, and then you have going into Leviticus 23:9, the Feast of First Fruits. So now you have these 3 days in chronological order, right? So just keep that in mind, that chronological order. Okay, I don't want to jump the gun. So let's keep it going. Where are you going next?
Right now we're going to Exodus 12.
Uh-huh.
And 3.
Let's do it.
Speak ye unto all the congregation of the Lord of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month ye shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And
So
if the
this is
household,
this was something like traditional for our people, right? D, like we were a sacrificial people. We dealt with the law of sin and death at that time, right? And we would show appreciation to the Most High by sacrificing a lamb, a turtle dove, things of that nature. Let's keep it going.
and if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of souls, every man according to his eating, shall he make your count for the lamb.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it from the sheep or from the goats.
Mm-hmm. So here you're seeing, right, the preparation of the Passover. This is a big deal. In the scriptures, you got 3 times a year that we're supposed to present ourselves to the Most High, right? You got this one, it's Passover, and then also the one we're about to count for, which is Pentecost, right? So this is a big deal. They're like, listen, get the best lambs you got. Make sure you get the size of the lamb properly, because we're not going to waste any of this lamb, right? So however big your household is the size lamb that you need to make sure that you can feed your family on this night. But you get this lamb together on the 10th day, right? Go ahead.
And also adding to that point, right? This is the preparation for the Passover. All the total details of the preparation of the Passover is given right here, right? You're getting your lamb, you're getting things, set up on the 10th day. You don't really read anything else outside of that.
Right. Keep that in mind. Right. That's a good point. You're giving teasers too. Keep that in mind, guys.
All right. Now we're jumping at 21. Exodus 12 and 21. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover.
So, everything's done decently in order, right, champ? So at first, Moses is kind of, briefing the people about what the Passover is going to look like. And then, later on, it's like, okay, now we're going to do this. We're going to have this Passover experience, right? This is going to be a historic event. Okay, now it's time, guys. Get the lamb. Go out there and get the lamb. We're going to start this thing. All right, go ahead.
And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in a basin and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of this house until the morning. Mm-hmm. For the Lord, for the Most High, will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, the Most High will pass over, or the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your house to smite you. And
here goes the thing. Go ahead, and what?
And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever.
For how long?
Forever.
Forever. So we're supposed to be keeping the Passover forever. Even though this was an isolated event initially, we were supposed to be keeping this feast in commemoration of this historical event forever. All right. So the Passover in itself is an important thing. But look how it says. You got to take the blood of the lamb and put it all around the front of your house, and don't leave your house. If you leave your house, you lose protection. Isn't that the way it is? And I don't want to go off the topic, man, but just real briefly, man, when a family is intact and they're under the blood of Christ, which is what the Passover lamb represent, right? They're protected. You leave that protection, who knows what could happen, right? So I don't want to go too far off the point. Let's keep it going.
Jump down to 29.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass that at midnight, the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle.
Even the cattle got murked. Here's the thing, man. When I read this story, right, this is what happened. To make a long story short, the Most High had, Egypt plenty of chances to repent and let the children of Israel go. Egypt had the Egyptians had the Israelites in slavery. And the Most High was like, I'm going to give you plenty of chances to let the people go, but Pharaoh hardened his heart and would not let the children of Israel go. So he did all kinds of stuff to Israel. He did all kinds of stuff to the Egyptians to kind of see if he can get them to let the people go. And finally, it got to the point where now the Most High say, you know what, I'm going to kill all of the firstborn in Egypt. And when I read this story, I think of just the firstborn in the immediate generation that I'm in. Whoever's generation it is, I'm thinking, okay, just the firstborn of that generation. But no, it was all the firstborns. So I can look at I have two firstborn sons from two separate wives, right? So that's two different boys right there. But I myself am also a firstborn. I got a grandson that's a firstborn. So I can imagine the cry in Israel when it says that, excuse me, in Egypt. I keep saying that. I can imagine the cry in Egypt, right? When it says there was a great cry in Egypt, because the firstborn, you had grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great-grandchildren, babies, adults, teenagers was just dropping. The Most High was at his wit's end with Egypt. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all of his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt. There was none at a house where there was not one dead.
Every single house, somebody was dead. There was a dead body laid out in every home. Go ahead.
And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get ye forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as ye have said, and also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also.
Get out of Egypt. All the Egyptians were like, here, get out of here. You're poison to us. Your God is killing our people. Go ahead.
And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we all be dead men. And all the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs, being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required. And they
Listen, the Egyptians didn't lend us a dang thing. The Egyptians did not lend the Israelites a damn thing. They gave it to us. They gave it because they was terrified. They was shook. So I don't know why they put that word lent in there. But it says that we took our dough and it wasn't leavened, because guess what? We had the preparation for this. We couldn't have any leaven around us at the time, right? So the dough obviously didn't have any leaven in it. And so we're rushing and we get to get out of slavery. Come on, let's go. Let's get up out of here, right? So the Egyptians are pushing us out and the Israelites are running. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot there that were men beside children.
Wow.
Going to the next chapter.
Mm-hmm. Does it tell you how long? I think from Ramses to Succoth is about 17 miles. So that's like a 6 to 7 hour walk that little children are doing, keep in mind. Right? Children, elderly, men, women, right? Let's go.
Going to Exodus 13 and 19.
So we're going to skip through, because I'm sure anybody that would, most people that would, watch a video like this are familiar with the story of the Israelites being freed from Egypt. So if you would like to, read this for yourself, you would be reading from Exodus 12 all the way through Exodus 15, I believe. Go ahead.
Exodus 13 and 19. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, and he had straitly sworn to the children of Israel, saying, the Most High will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness.
So now they kept on, traveling. They're on foot. And Moses even gathered the bones of Joseph. So if they was ever looking for the bones of Joseph in Egypt, they ain't there. Go ahead.
And even side note, right? Again, this whole time, right? It's they're moving in haste. They're trying to get up out of there, right? That whole time, what time do you have to, gather grain or wave your sheaf, or you don't really read anything of that during this period of time because they got to get up out of it, right?
Good point.
Jumping over to Exodus 14 and 4, and then we'll skip through chapter 14. Exodus 14 and 4, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart, then he shall follow after them, and I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, and the Egyptians may know that I am Ahiah, the Most High, and they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of the Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this? That we have
again, one might ask, why would the Most High harden Pharaoh's heart? Listen, it tells you right there. It tells you right there. I get the Most High. I understand, why he has to, show himself from time to time, because he gives us so much opportunity, for him not to show his power. If he wanted to, he could show his power unto us right now, because we are so defiant. Not just the nation of Israel, but the entire world is so defiant that I get the Most High really just, flexing and showing who he is. The Most High is like, let me record it in history, how real I can make things. So that way, since these people don't want to, follow and do what they're supposed to do, maybe the people in the future, let's put it out there so that way it's on record that they see that I'm a merciful power, but I'm also a great and dreadful power as well, right? So, they let the Egyptians let the Israelites go, gave them all their jewelry and gold and silver and whatnot. The Israelites take off. So they get a head start, right? All of a sudden, you get the Egyptians now, they're angry. They're ferociously upset because the mourning process, they're going through that, and they're seeing all these people dead, all these dead bodies, all their loved ones, uncles, grandfathers, fathers, teenagers, 3-year-old boys, infants even, right? They look around and they're in this sorrow, this great cry is going out throughout Egypt, and then it starts to kick in. That anger, that resentment towards the children of Israel. Why did we let them go? So, but Pharaoh's, he's upset. He hops on them chariots. He gets them soldiers ready, make ready the chariots, and now they're off to the races. They're gonna get ready to kill every single Israelite known to man. You hear me? These men are pissed, and the women are pissed. Like the whole nation, okay, is ready to kill every Israelite on the planet. Go ahead. Go ahead. Verse 9. Verse 9.
Jumping to verse 9. Exodus 14 and 9. But the Egyptians pursued after them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army overtook them, encamping by the sea beside Pi-Hiroth, before Baal-Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. They said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
This is an ungrateful people. We are the same ungrateful ingrates today. You know, I hate to say it. As I read this, it upsets me because here it is, the Most High is freeing us from what? Slavery. I had a 6-year-old say to us the first time we did this lesson. I don't know if you remember this, but you know, he was like, "Listen, I'd rather die in the wilderness than be a slave." A kid said that, and I was like, "Man, that makes sense." You know, but you got to think. I mean, look at even the slavery that our people served here, where people would rather continue being slaves than to, you know, seek freedom. Same thing. Go ahead.
Verse 14, 13. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Most High. For he will shew to thee today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever.
Now, what is Moses doing? He's bragging on the Most High. He's like, listen, you might see the Egyptians here today, but when the Most High get through with them, you ain't gonna see them no more. So quit complaining. Have a little faith. Go ahead.
The Most High shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Most High said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward, but lift up thy rod, thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea.
On what?
On dry ground.
On dry ground. Now just imagine the terror of that. How high would you say if the Most High made dry ground? That means obviously Moses parted the Red Sea, right? So it had to have been walls on either side of that dry ground of water. Hey, champ, how high would you say those walls might have been?
I think we looked it up. Like the deepest part of the Red Sea is it's like 9,900 something, almost 10,000 feet.
Now imagine a wall coming up over your head that large on either side of you, right? Imagine walking through that as you're just walking. Forget the fact that the Egyptians are chasing you, right, champ? Forget the fact that people are chasing you who just lost their entire family and they're looking to kill you for sure. They're not looking to come and shake hands with you and apologize to you. These people are coming for blood. Forget the fact of that. Now you're walking through the midst of an ocean, looking up, you know, at these great walls of water that could come crashing down at any minute, right, on top of you. And Moses and the children of Israel walking through the midst of this. Think about the appreciation, before we even get there, the appreciation that they're going to have once they get to the other side. All right. Just keep that thought in the back of your head. Go ahead, keep going.
Verse 18, and the Egyptians shall know that I am Ahiah, the Most High.
That's
when
right.
I have gotten me honor unto Pharaoh and upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. And the angel of the Most High, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went before their face and stood behind them. And it came between the
verse
camp
21,
of the
verse 21, verse 21.
Verse 21. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided.
Beautiful. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them in their right hand and on the left hand.
Just like the Most High said. Go ahead.
And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, and even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, the Most High looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, and drave them heavily. So the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Most High fighteth for them against the Egyptians. And the Most High said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, and upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength. When the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and the Most High overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came in the sea into the sea after them, and they remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry ground in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus the Most High saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore.
Egyptians dead upon the seashore. Woo, woo, whoa. I got to tell you, man, that's a story. Right? I'm just thinking about it in my head. I wish we had some sort of sound effects and like, like some music, some theater music to kind of play as we're reading this, because to me, listening to the words alone was like a drama. I'm thinking of the children of Israel. The children of Israel today are whom the world calls the people of Negro and Indian descent, and those scattered throughout, most of those scattered throughout the South Pacific Islands, right? These are the children of Israel. Now, if you look at my people today, and I start, putting faces to this, I can see certain people that I know, right? And you know what I mean, that would sit there and be like, oh man, Moses, we had a dead end. Would you bring us out here to die? So they're already going into the Reed Sea faithless, right? Then when they get through, or they get inside the middle of the water, you think those people was walking, champ? You think they were walking?
Nah.
I bet in order for them to walk, Moses had to slow them down. It was some people in there that probably out of shape, heavyweight, probably eating pork on the side like they do today. You know what I mean? Eating up whatever the Egyptians ate like they do today. Right, out of shape, and steady trying to sprint through the midst of there because they were faithless. Now, it doesn't say that. I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at people that I know, right? People in our community, and like, if you already was walking into the Red Sea with no faith, and then you go into the midst of the sea and you see the walls up high, they're probably trying to book through there, sweating, and you know what I mean, breathing heavy, and you know what I'm saying, and pulling children. Come on, get over here, get up. You're pulling the children and yanking arms and whatnot, trying to get through there, because these were already a faithless people. Meanwhile, Moses was probably like, man, I'm good. I know the Most High got my back. He probably ready to just stroll from one side to the next. But Israel having no faith, their anxiety, I am willing to bet that their anxiety level was high, is what I'm saying. What do you think, champ?
For sure, definitely.
True, what you think? I don't know. True still on there. But yeah, man, their anxiety level had to be high, man. So that's it. So they get through the Reed Sea, right? They're on the other side, and they see the Egyptians dead at the seashore, and all the water back calm again. Now that raging water that was so high, boom, comes down, settles within itself, leaves the Egyptians, dead at the shore, and the Israelites safe on the other side. I know some of those people, maybe if not all of them, at least in that moment, I know that there were some people that were highly appreciative, that all they wanted to do was just show the Most High thanks, right? So let's hold on to that, man. Let's keep it moving. What else you got?
Going over to Leviticus, jumping back into it. Leviticus 23 and 4 says, these are the feasts of the Most High, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover.
There it is, chronological order. Chronological order. 14th day Passover. Go ahead.
On the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Most High.
Chronological order. 15th day, Feast of Unleavened Bread. Go ahead.
7 days you must eat unleavened bread. And in the first day you shall have a holy convocation, and ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. And in the 7th day is a holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein.
Boom. What's done now? Two feast days. Passover's done. Feast of Unleavened Bread is done. Now we're going into first fruits. Here's the funny thing. even in this eSword Bible app, when they label first fruits, they're going to put another significant event in Leviticus 23 and 10. We're going to find out. But they label this significant event under first fruits. Let's see. Now, wait a minute. Let's also look at a commonality in this chapter, right, with the feast days. Right here, we're seeing, matter of fact, let's not go there. I don't want to make this lengthy. Let's keep going. Just keep reading. We'll probably hit that, what I'm about to say later, what I was about to say later. Yeah.
And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you be come into the land,
when you be coming to the what?
Land.
When you come into the land, similar to how the Israelites came onto that land on the other side of the Red Sea, you better be appreciative. When you be coming to the land, go ahead.
Which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof. Then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
Then you shall bring a what?
A sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
So that's the morrow, the next day after the Sabbath. But what Sabbath? Unleavened bread. Right? So after that Sabbath of the unleavened bread, the next day, you would go out there and do the waving of the sheaves, which is a significant biblical, right, event. Go ahead.
And ye shall offer that day when you wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish, a he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Most High.
Bam. Okay, bam. This right here, what verse is that? Verse 12 is where a lot of my brothers and sisters say that this is a reiteration of the Passover lamb. Okay, we're going to continue to show you that it's not. All right, but I want to deal a little longer on the waving of the sheaves. Okay, let's talk about the waving of the sheaves briefly. Okay, but we're going to prove that this lamb right here in Leviticus 23 and 12 is not the Passover lamb. All right, so let's hit Deuteronomy 16. Brothers and sisters, grab your pen and pad so you can write this down and you can do your own research, additional research afterwards. Where are you going to start at, champ?
I'm going to start at verse 8.
Yep. Matter of fact, let's just do the same chronological order as Leviticus. So let's go up, right? And we will start at the Passover, right? So let's start at verse 6. Chronological order, very important, right? Same chronological order is in Deuteronomy as it is in Leviticus. Let's go.
Deuteronomy 16 and 6. But at the place which the Most High, thy power, shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou comest forth out of Egypt.
So now you got the Passover. Go ahead.
And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Most High thy power shall choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and go unto thy tents. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day shall be solemn assembly to the Most High thy power, and thou shalt do no work therein.
Once again, done. And even the eSword people are now going to do what? Make a separate, a segue, so to speak, into the next feast day. So because here you're already done with the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now let's read verse 9.
Verse 9. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number 7 weeks.
It says what? Begin to what?
Number unto thee.
It says, what's the word? Be what?
Begin.
Begin to number. No, surely it says you've already numbered.
Begin.
Now you begin to number. Not prior to this. After those 7 days of unleavened bread is up, it said to what?
Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn.
So there's even more information. You're supposed to start counting right after, right? You read in verse 8 the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but then it adds more additional information. This is the time that you would put the sickle to the corn, which is talking about how you get the waving of the sheaves. Show them the picture of the bro Dawiyad if you have it, please.
Give me one second. I gotta share that screen. Give me one moment.
Okay. We're going to show you a picture of a brother, the same brother that we were talking about earlier, who brought this idea this to our attention. He brought it to the world's attention. He brought it to a lot of people, but it was ignored by quite a few people. We're going to show you a picture of this brother putting a sickle to the corn, literally, in the Holy Land. All right, in Israel. Okay. So boom, that's my brother right there. Been knowing him since around 2016. In his right hand, you'll see a sickle. The cool thing about that sickle is that if you look at the range or the diameter, whatever you call it, of the I'm not great at math, circumference almost, it's like a half circle, right? And it's just the right cut to be able to cut out that much corn to create a bundle or a sheave. So back the picture out a little bit. You got the sickle in his right hand and the sheave of barley, which is indigenous to Israel, in his left hand. So what he did right there is he cut that so that way he can do a sheave offering. Now there's no priest, but he could always cut the sheaves and show respect to the Most High, send up a prayer to the Most High, and thank him for the harvest and the things that he has in his life. So he actually did this on the morrow after the Shabbat of this year's Feast of Unleavened Bread. Am I saying that right, champ? Do I sound clear?
Yeah, on the last day, of that Feast of Unleavened Bread. Yep.
Yep.
After the last day, yep.
Yep. Right after that seventh day, he went out that morning and got his sickle and put it to the corn. Corn is indigenous to where we are here in the States, but barley over there. So he cut the corn and he's about to wave the sheaf. Exactly the way the scripture said we were supposed to do it. Right? So let's go back to Deuteronomy 16.
Deuteronomy 16, verse 9, finishing off 9.
Yes, sir.
Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn.
Now, why are you putting the sickle up to the corn? Let's go over to Leviticus 23 now, and I guess read verse 9.
Leviticus 23 and 9.
Uh-huh.
And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And
This is after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? So that morning after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you would do like the brother did, and you would cut, right, your barley and create your bundles or your sheaves. Go ahead.
And ye shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. And on the morrow, after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
Mm-hmm.
And ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf an he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering.
So this is a separate lamb, right? Because now you're doing this waving of the sheaves, and then with that, you're offering a lamb to the Most High, right? And let's continue.
Verse 13, and the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be wine, and the fourth part of it hin. And ye shall
so now this is very particular, isn't it? So far, we're going to read verse 14 to show you that this meal, right, is this sacrifice, this meal, right, is very particular, and different from the instructions that we had for the meal of Passover, right? Where's the bitter herbs, right? Let's go up to the bitter herbs. Let's go up to
going back to Exodus.
Yeah. No, actually, yeah. No,
bitter
in
herb.
Leviticus. Let's go up in Leviticus. I believe it's in Leviticus 23, where it talks about the Passover lamb, how that's supposed to be. It doesn't have it there, right? My fault. So yeah, you're right. We got to go to Exodus.
Exodus 12 and 8.
Uh-huh.
And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
So that's very specific, right? You need to eat this specific meal with bitter herbs, right? Very detailed instructions for that specific sacrifice, right, in Exodus for the Passover. Now, when we go down in Leviticus 23 and verse 13, we're reading about a separate sacrifice with also specific instructions or directives as to how to keep it, but different than what we read about the Passover. So let's keep going.
Jumping back to Leviticus 23 and 14. And ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the self same day that ye have brought an offering unto your power.
Wait a minute, and you shall not eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green air. So does that mean that for all the brothers that are saying that this second lamb or this other lamb that you read about in Leviticus is the Passover lamb, why aren't we fasting from bread, parched corn, and greens just before the Passover? Who's doing that? Right? These are specific directives. But if that information is enough, there's more. We have quite a bit more information to show you, but we wanted to kind of just, let you digest this, do your own research, watch the video a few times. But this right here is clear information, right? We're going to go into the Tinsdale Bible right after this. All right, champ. And then from there, because since the Tinsdale Bible, we're dealing with Old Testament stuff, then after that, we're going to finish it off in the New Testament for the Christian brothers and sisters who don't deal with the Old Testament as much, right? Christian mindset, right? So does that make sense what I'm saying, champ?
Yep.
All right, cool, cool. So this is a specific meal, right? Leviticus 23 and 14. Go ahead.
Right, you shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the self same day that they have brought an offering to your power.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
There it is. So that's what the brother did. He went out there in the morning and he cut the sheaves and offered them to the Most High, because before we can really just take part in the Most High's blessings, we got to give him his sacrifice first. We got to show him our appreciation first. The Most High always come first. So we would go out there and we cut those sheaves after the first fruits, where we ate, I mean, not the first fruits, after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, where we ate all the old barley or all the old grain. And then we could what? Thank the Most High for that new grain and then partake in the new grain, right? And now, lo and behold, it leads you in chronological order after the waving of the sheaves to the Feast of Weeks, right? Read on.
Verse 15, and ye shall count unto the morrow after the Sabbath from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave.
After the day that you brought the what?
Sheaf.
That's after the unleavened bread.
Of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete.
Mm-hmm.
Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, ye shall number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord.
That's super clear. I'm listening to myself, and I know that you're not one to let me say, too much stupid things without correcting me, and I appreciate that. So, did it sound clear to you?
Sounds clear to me.
All right, so let's go. It's your turn, man. You got the Tinsdale Bible, huh?
Yep. So going into Tinsdale and back.
Wait. Before you do that, everything you put on the screen is what I'm going to read, and I'm reading off the TV because I don't have my glasses. So you're gonna have to put it on there, whatever you want me to read, highlight it where you want me to start, and then I'll just read everything that you need me to read moving forward.
I got you.
All right.
So so giving background on the Tinsdale Bible, right? This is not something we just randomly came up with. This is something that the elders from the main church, right, that came with the Enoch calendar, that came with the name of Ahia. I don't, for copyright purposes, I don't know, what the deal is. I'm not gonna put the name
Wonderful
out there.
church, awesome church, awesome brothers, love them to death. Go ahead.
So they put this Bible out here. Great points in there. One of the points I had was in 1 Samuel 16 and 12. I'm not going to go to it, but I'll just paraphrase it. In 1 Samuel 16 and 12 in the KJV, people come through and say, okay, David was white, right? He's obviously a white man because the scripture says, and brought him in. Now he was ruddy. Ruddy means red, right? So then they'll throw that out there, right? And the Tinsdale Bible, though, right? Well, even without the Tinsdale Bible, you would get to understand that it wouldn't mean red, right? As in a white person, but more so like a lighter skinned black man, like you see today, right? More like a light skinned person, right?
Yeah.
But the Tinsdale, what they brought out in
Like
the Tinsdale says,
red fox, right?
yeah, right.
Anytime you see a light skinned black person, you say, "Hey, red." They can even have black hair. They still call them red. Or the sister, they call them red bone.
Exactly. In the Tinsdale Bible, though, and I'll read it. It's 1 Samuel 16, or maybe I can get to it real fast. But this one I can't really. It doesn't let me click through, so I got to scroll all the way through it. Let me see
Try
if I
to
can
get
get to
through
it.
it as much as you can because we're just trying to validate the Tinsdale Bible for everyone, but we don't want to get too far off the topic and make the lesson too long. But yeah.
Definitely. All right, so I'm right here. Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, that was quick. Cool. So if you can read that for me, I'm gonna highlight it real fast.
Yep.
So same chapter, same verse, and we're gonna look at 12, right? And look at the difference.
And he was brown with goodly and he
And he
was brown
and he was brown, right?
with yeah.
A
Yep.
goodly eye. So instead of ruddy or a white man or red, as far as they try to put out there,
Brown.
still a very weak point on their end. But what the scripture said is brown, right?
That's
It's
right.
still a brown skin situation, right? With the Tidsdale, right? It's one of the older versions, just before your 1611. This one was brought out. It was around 1526 to 1535 is when it was compiled and put together, things of that nature, right? Now,
Yes, sir.
back to where we're going as far as uh, Pentecost, right? So we're going to Deuteronomy 16, right?
Mm.
Deuteronomy
Yep.
16 and 8, I want to say. Let me
Okay.
see, I'm read here. Okay, 16's up here. Boom. All right, cool.
That's
So
it.
we'll
Yep.
go. We'll jump straight to it. All right.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So we're going to 68 and we'll read down to 10. Or really, we'll read the
Just
same
right
thing.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got highlighted for you.
Okay. 6 days shalt thou eat sweet bread or the unleavened bread, right? And on the seventh day is for the people to come together to the Lord thy power, that thou mayest do no work. Then,
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 THEN, right? Then reckon the 7 weeks and begin to reckon the 7 weeks when the sickle beginneth in the corn, and keep the feast of weeks unto the Lord thy God, that thou give a free will offering of thine hand unto the Lord thy power, according as the Lord thy God has blessed thee.
right. So right there is clear as day, right? And this
Boom.
translation slightly before King James Version, it clearly tells you, okay, after your feast, after the Passover, after the Feast of Unleavened Bread is finished, then
Mm-hmm.
you reckon, you count
Then,
your 50, right?
hey, do me a favor for all the our Israelite brothers and sisters out there. Unhighlight everything except for the word then. Just 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 highlight then, then, like then. Not before, not after, but then. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Kind. So that's that, right? That's us staying in the Old Testament, right? Even without the tens day, it was pretty clear. But with the tens day, it makes it extremely clear, right? Now going to the New Testament, right? Going back to the King James Version, we might play around with the Sinaitic text or the older translation of the New Testament, but we'll see. Um, going to Christ now.
Okay.
So we're going to Matthew 28:1.
Yep. How much scriptures we got left? I want to shorten it up real quick because I think you hit it, man. So let's just hit the solid stuff so that way brothers can digest it. Again, we hope that we're not gonna receive any backlash for telling the truth. We've definitely, not just us, but other brothers have tried on several occasions to share this information. And yeah, so now we're putting it out on a channel that we've had for years. So not a lot of people partake in this channel or watch this channel. We don't do much to promote this channel. We just hope that by the grace of the Most High, that whatever truth we end up putting on here, people find it, So the goal is to kind of just, if whatever information the Most High gives us that we see as truth, is to share it with other people who seek truth, right? So where you at?
Kind of. We're at Matthew 28:1. And just to give a background on real quick, so, or skipping ahead, and kind of filling in the points for any new listeners and people that already know, right? So we know for sure that Christ was given up on, or he was arrested, right, at his Last Supper, right? What was Last Supper? The Last Supper was the Passover, Passover night, right? He
Yes,
was
sir.
picked up and arrested that day, or that night, that even, and he was ended up being murdered that later on that day in the daytime, which would have been Saturday, right? Just before the first day of the week, right?
Yep.
Now we're going to read Matthew 28:1.
Hold on. Pause the video before you have me read right quick.
Give me 1 second. All right.
Sorry,
so
just had to grab some tea right quick.
No worries. So with that, right, and another background on it, right? So we know Christ was given up or arrested on Passover night, right? A few different things we're going to touch on this, right? Before brothers would look at this Sabbath situation, right? And we look at it, we look at the Greek for Sabbaton, and it means interval between Sabbaths, because you got to make sense of it. Because your modern day Christians, they believe, okay, your Good Friday, your Resurrection, Easter Sunday, and all that stuff. But from Friday to Sunday, that's only 2 days, right?
Only 2.
Yeah. So you would have to go in, brothers would go in and like, if something doesn't make sense about this, right? So you hit the Sabbaton.
Mm-hmm.
But now that was about 7 years ago.
Wait.
But now,
Explain to the people what the Sabbaton is.
So the Sabbaton, okay. So the Sabbaton, right? Let me see if I can pull the Strong's up real quick. Give me 1 second here. Sabbaton is what they would hit right here. So for Sabbath, right? You guys can see that on the screen.
Yes.
Sabbaton says the Sabbath initially, right? A
Mm-hmm.
day of the weekly repose of circular avocations, by extension, a Sinite, that is the interval between 2 Sabbaths, right? Likewise in plural and above avocations, right? So with that, brothers would say, okay, see, so it wasn't that she really didn't raise that Sunday, so on and so forth, which is true, very 103,000% true, because it's only 2 days. Couldn't have rose Sunday, right?
Right.
But what was actually there, it did actually, but where we're reading it is what it says, right? In the end of the Sabbath, and it gives more detail. Or well, let's read Matthew 28.
Yeah. Because I was saying for like all our, like my people in my generation that were from the Christian church, they say that Christ died on a Good Friday and was raised on Easter Sunday. You know what I mean? It's like Friday to Sunday. Like you say, it's only 2 days. So it makes sense that, there would have to be a week in between, for him to be raised on the 3rd day, right? So yeah, it makes perfect sense, man. So what do you want me to read?
Yeah, let's read 28:1.
Matthew 28:1. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary
End of the
Magdalene.
Sabbath, right?
Mm-hmm.
As it began to dawn on the first day of the week. So it's giving you specific details of a day, right? It's not
Right.
being, vague as far as brothers would say, okay, this is a Wednesday, but it's still giving you details as far as what day it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we
Yep.
precept that with on the right side of the screen,
Mm-hmm.
right? With Matthew 24:1.
Okay, Matthew 24:1. Now, upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning.
So same thing, right? After your Sabbath is still going to be the first day of the week. Now, double backing, and we're going to read the same thing in a Sinaitic pamphlet, an older version of the, or one of the oldest versions of the Old Testament or New Testament. If you can read that for me right there.
Okay, can you make that a little bigger for me? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better.
There you go.
Highlight. It says, and on the evening of the Shabbat, as the first day of the week dawned,
So
came Mary.
it's being very specific, right? This is the oldest translation we get. So that's what it says, right? It does say in the evening of the Sabbath, right? It was a Sabbath that Mary Magdalene, this scene that we're getting, it was the first day of the week. That's undeniable, right? But does that mean it was the first day of the week from that same week that Christ was crucified? No. How do we know that? Right? Let's prove that real quick. Now we're going to go and just read a little bit more. All right, so we're going to go over to Luke's side real fast.
Yes, sir.
Oh, actually, we'll go to the chapter before this in Matthew on your left side.
All right.
We're going to do the 27, right?
Okay.
27 and 63.
Okay. Matthew 27 and verse 63, saying, Sir, we remember that the deceiver said, while he was yet alive, that's like speaking of Christ, right?
Yeah.
After 3 days, I will rise again.
So look at the disrespect of these dudes, man. These were the Pharisees that came up to Pontius Pilate, right? Some black Jews, right? Or the only Jews that are black, right? Some Negroes that came up to this white man and said, hey, sir, hey, master, however you would put it in a situation like that, right? Super disrespectful. The deceiver talking about Christ, right? The same dude that healed probably their family members and doing miracles, undeniable stuff, right?
Yeah.
He said that he was going to raise in 3 days, right?
Yep.
So it's super disrespectful, super trying to make sure that they are hating on Christ to their best ability, right? Verse 64.
Verse 64. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure until the third day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away and say unto the people, he is risen from the dead. So the last era shall be worse than the first. Pilate said unto them, you have a watch. Go your way. Make it as sure as you can.
Go ahead.
You got to scroll up for me. Verse 66. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch.
Right. So right here, and we're seeing that the hating Pharisees, right, was like, hey, Pontius Pilate, can we make sure that we lock up this tomb, right, to make sure the disciples don't come anywhere around it, because they could go ahead and they might steal the body and try to fake, Christ's resurrection, right? So this is giving us a timestamp, so we know if Christ was given up.
And wait, and you say they put soldiers there too, like security, setting a watch.
Yep. So it was super, super duper locked up, right?
Yep.
At least 3 days, right? And they probably was being vindictive and probably did an extra day or so, right?
Right.
But 3 full days. The Pharisees with the authority of Pontius Pilate, right, as Roman centurion soldiers, made sure they had this sepulcher locked up, right? So there was no way that not the Pharisees, but the disciples wouldn't be able to even see the body of Christ, right? So it couldn't have been when we go over to Matthew 28 and Luke 24:1, where, okay, this is the first day of the week, right? It wasn't that same week, right? Because they had been blocked, that whole sepulcher had been guarded at least 3 days till after the death of Christ, right? So now, getting back to it, we're going to the right side, Luke 24:1, right?
Okay. Let me get this out of my way right quick. Okay, Luke 21:4. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared and certain others with them. And they found a stone rolled away from the sepulchre.
Right. So right here, right, we're sowing, right? Because the Pharisees made sure that the stone was what? It was sealed in
Secured.
3 days,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But the stone's out of there. It's moved out the way, rolled out the way. But the Pharisees had made sure with the centurion soldiers, 3 days, hey man, that mug is sealed tight, ain't nobody going in there. They
Yeah.
come through, right? The first day of the week,
Mary
right?
came through.
Mary came through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can see that this ain't the same week. This is a week later, right?
Right.
And what's a week later after the Passover?
Feast of Unleavened Bread.
The feast or the last day of a feast of unleavened bread,
The last
right?
day. That's right.
So
That's right.
this is where we're at, right? So what's also, if we go back to the Old Testament, what's also a week, after that Passover, right? Let's go back where we were at before,
Mm-hmm.
Leviticus 23, where the discrepancy is at.
Mm-hmm.
What's after that? If you can read Leviticus 23 and 11 through
Leviticus
12.
23 and 11. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
Right, go ahead.
And ye shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf, a he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord.
And you shall wave a sheaf with a he lamb without blemish, right? We know Christ is the Passover lamb, right? We're
Yeah.
also looking again at this he lamb without blemish as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And who's this lamb without blemish? Let's go over here. Just make sure precepts upon precept real fast.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go to short and sweet. First Peter 1 and 19.
1 Peter 1 and 19. But with precious blood, but with the precious blood of Christ, Yeshua, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot.
So this lamb without blemish or without spot, or otherwise known as Christ, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On the last day of a feast of unleavened bread, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reveals himself to Mary first, right?
Mm. Mm.
And then later on, the disciples later on that day. And what did he tell them? What does he tell them on the last day, after a week after the Passover, on the last day, or after the end of the day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Let's see what he tells them.
Yeah, Terry here, right?
Let's read it.
Okay.
Verse 49,
Okay, let me
Luke
move
24 and
this.
49 on the right side.
Okay, Luke 24 and 49. And behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you, but tarry ye in the city of Jerusalem until ye be endued with power from on high.
Again, so the Lamb without blemish, Christ, told the disciples, right, to tarry after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right,
Mm-hmm.
to tarry there in Jerusalem until you be endued in power from on high, right?
Beautiful,
What
beautiful.
happened, right, when they tarried, when there was time, full time come? Let's go look at it.
The coming of the Holy Spirit.
Yep. We're going to
Like I said,
go
yeah.
at Acts 2 and 1.
Acts 2 and 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they
And
were
when the
all,
day of Pentecost, right? The
yes, sir.
day of Pentecost was fully come. So how long
Mm-hmm.
did they wait with this day of Pentecost, right? What does Pentecost mean? Let me pull it up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
How long did they wait in Jerusalem? If you guys can see that right there. Let me make
Yep.
it so you can make it bigger, right?
Yep.
So how long did they wait? Can you read that for me?
50th.
They waited 50 days,
Mm-hmm.
right? From the time that Christ told them to wait till the day of Pentecost. They waited 50 days. And on that 50th day, they got the, Holy Spirit, as well as the actual cloven tongues, or speaking in tongues, which is the ability to speak in your tongue and other people in other languages would understand.
And
Right?
go back, but see, it's funny because this is why it says study to show that I approve, because self-approved, because even when you go here, look here, when you go to Pentecost, look what they have. 50 days being from Passover. All they had to do is put what Pentecost means, right? But they put their implied in there, implied from Passover. Because the truth, the word would come from Zion, not just from the land, but from the people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These people who translated this thing into English, they put their touch all over this thing, but it doesn't matter. It said the pen of the scribes is in vain, whether it be the Gentiles, whether it was wicked Israelite Pharisees, the pen of the scribes has always been in vain. The Most High will do nothing but reveal his secrets unto his servants, the Israelites, the good ones, right? Go ahead, man. You want me to keep reading? Want me to read it again? Luke 24, Luke 24 and 49. And behold, I send the promise of my Father unto you, but tarry ye in the city of Jerusalem until you be endued with power from on high. Acts 2 and 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from the heavens as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. Verse 3, and there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began speaking with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance.
So that is undeniable right there. Right? And also undeniable that the Pentecost is a super duper important day. Right? There's multiple things that happen on the Pentecost. People were looking, it was like almost expected, right, that you're looking for something big on the Pentecost.
Like a miracle, right?
Like a miracle, right? Now, so that's the Old Testament. We have Christ involved. We have Moses involved, the law, all that, right?
Yep.
That's from the Bible. Now we're going to go into our other text, and we're going to go first into Jubilees. We'll start at 14. Right? Jumping down to, we'll jump around, right? So 14 and 1.
Jubilees chapter 14 and 1. And after these things, in the 4th year of this week, on the new moon of the 3rd month, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a dream, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy defender, and thy rewarder will be exceeding great.
So we're given a time stamp right now, right? We're given the 3rd month, right?
Yes, sir. Yep, in the 3rd month. Got you.
Right. So we're going, jumping through. We're going to go to verse 9 and read to 11.
Verse 9. And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years, and a goat of 3 years. I got the logo over my writing here, so I got to just move it. Okay. Hold on a second. And a sheep of 3 years, and a turtle dove, and a pigeon. And he took all of these in the middle of the month, And he dwelt at the ark of Mamre, which is near Hebron. Verse 11.
God.
And he built an altar and sacrificed all these, and he poured their blood upon the altar and divided them in the midst and laid them over against each other, but the birds divided he not.
Right. And then jumping down to 19 and 20.
Verse 19. And the day passed, and Abram offered the pieces and the birds and their fruit offerings and their drink offerings, and the fire devoured them. And on that day we made covenant with Abram, according as we had covenanted with Noah in this month. And Abram renewed the festival and ordinance for himself forever.
Right. So right here in the 3rd month, right in the middle of the 3rd month, we see something significant, right? A festival, right? Which would turn out to read that this was the same festival that Noah kept when he was on the ark, right? The Feast of Weeks or Feast of Fruits. And he was given, and we kind of foreshadowed earlier, but Noah was given the rainbow, right? And that's in Jubilee 6, if anyone wants to go back and read it. Now we're going to go to the next chapter, right? We'll go to 15 and 1.
And in the 5th year of the 4th week of this Jubilee, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Abram celebrated the feast of first fruits of the grain harvest. And
so again, we're seeing the 3rd month, in the middle of the 3rd month, in the Feast of Weeks, Abraham is being given this sign, right? At first, it was first and 14. There was 1 year, and this is also, I think we read one earlier. So 14 was a fourth year, or right? Fourth year of the week. 15 is the fifth year, right? So year after year, right? We're looking at where Abraham is keeping the Feast of Weeks, Feast of First Fruits in the third month, in the middle of the month, right?
Yep.
And if we can read further into it as far as what happened, but I'll just tell you guys that he was told that he was going to have a son, right? And his son Isaac. His name was also changed from Abram to Abraham, all on the Pentecost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the second occurrence. Let's go ahead and read the next chapter. It's going to 16 and 13.
And guys, wait to the end. Anybody listening to this video, wait to the end and see the significance of what we're bringing out of this being in the middle of the third month. What verse am I at?
Verse 13.
Verse 13. And she bare him a son in the third month, again, and in the middle of the month, at that time in which the Lord had spoken to Abraham on the festival of the first fruits of harvest, Isaac was born.
In the third month, in the middle of the month, you had Isaac being born. So Isaac's birthday was on Pentecost, right?
Right.
Super dope. And again, this is the year later, right? So we have 3 years back to back, right? That Abraham or Abram kept the Pentecost in the middle of the third month, right?
Nice.
3 separate years, right?
Yep.
I got Jacob as well. Should I get Jacob or just get to the point, get to the math?
Let's get to the point.
Right,
You can reference the scripture. Where's the scripture? Jubilees what?
Jubilees 44 and 1 through 5, right? You can read about Jacob.
Jubilees 44 and 1 through 5. Write
Right.
that down. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Now, so we know it's in the middle of the third month, right? So Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all these patriarchs, right? They had the Enoch calendar. That's the only calendar they had. That's the only time they were, time that they were given, right? When we look at the Enoch calendar, right? And I just Googled it, and I'm going to use one of these. Let's use this one, right?
Yeah, and for
seasons.
everybody on here that doesn't follow, keep the Enoch calendar, still hang on the line. Check it out and just see the significance. Just humor us, brothers and sisters, just to kind of see if this makes sense. All right, just humor us. It's gonna be awesome. All right, just wait to the end of the video and see the sense that comes out of this. Go ahead.
Con. So the way the Enoch calendar works, right? And we're just working off the celestial entities, right? As in the sun and the moon, right? It's simply on that. It works off seasons, things of that nature, right? It's time. In your first month or first season, right? You have spring. Next one after that is summer. Next one after that is autumn. Next one after that is winter, right? Each season has 3 months, right? 3 30-day months, right? And then the last month has that 31st day, which is the day that changes over to the next season, right? As you can see right over here, right? Like you can see my mouse, right? So that's where we're at. So for this year, right? For all those that are pretty savvy with the scriptures, right? Or with Enoch and all that stuff, we can all agree, right? That the new year, the first day of the new year was, for this year was March 2nd. March 2nd, right? Which was a Sabbath day, or I'm sorry, the end of the Sabbath day, March 2nd,
Right.
was our first day of the year, right? That's our first day of the year, the first day of spring, right? As in a season, right? So if we're using our Enoch math, right? You got 30 days.
That was the day, just to add that in there, that was the day that the brother had went out there and put the sickle to the corn.
No. Now, yeah.
Oh, my bad. My fault. That is absolutely incorrect. Sorry about that.
Yeah. He did. I think he did that after Unleavened Bread, but in the same month though, for sure. So he was in the first month, and he did his sheaf offering, right? Somewhere, I guess it would be around this time. We have a couple Sabbaths over, 23rd in this time, right? But this is our first day of the year, right? Of a Hebrew year, correct, true year, right? Was March 2nd, right? So if we're following the Enoch math, right, we had for our first month to end and begin our second month, right? You got to add 30 days. So let's do it together. So I'm going to go to a date calculator, right? I'm going to throw in that date for the first day of the year, which was March 2nd, right? 2024. So I'm going to add 30 days. Boom, boom. 30 days. So 30 days from March 2nd, right? That's Saturday or Sabbath sundown, beginning of the first day of the year. 30 days from that brings you to April 1st, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we take that same math, right? And let's just add another 30 days to that, right? And we'll do 60 days to finish 2 months, right? And start the third month. 60 days from that, right? Let me go and hit enter. And that puts you at what day? You scroll down real fast. Puts you at May 1st, right? So
Gotcha.
May 1st would be the end of the second month and the beginning on the first day of the third month, right? The math is there. I had a day calculator we're seeing on the screen. Anyone can do this in your own time, right? So I'm going to go to the calendar, right? And this is my own calendar, but this is based off the churches out there that have been established and they have calendars that you can go out there and buy. And I would definitely recommend it. So using the same calendar, same dates are all the same, right?
And excuse me for that ridiculous mistake. I should have kept my mouth shut. I don't know. My mind went to stupid for a minute. Sorry about that.
You was adding something? My bad.
No, I said excuse me for that ridiculous mistake earlier. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. It's ridiculous.
It's all good. So right here, right? So New Year from right there, right? We add 30 days from March 2nd. It puts you to April 1st, right? And that's the math we did, right? Now we're going over from the first, passing up the second month, right there, April 1st, and we're jumping to the third month that we calculated, which is May 1st, right? So we're in May 1st, right? This is the first day of the third month, right? Before last year, right? Our feast, and then you can do this every year, right? Our feast was the first Sabbath of that third month, right? Now, if that's the first Sabbath of the third month, right? Will that put your Pentecost, right? Right here on your right side on the fourth. Does that put your Pentecost in the middle of the third month for the viewers?
No, that's the first of the month.
Yeah, it puts you at the first of the month. It's literally let me see. One, 2, 3 days away from the first day of the year.
Right.
Right.
Got you.
And that's also this day that you get, right, is counting 50 days, right, from the Passover.
Yes.
That's what you're going to get, right? But as far as looking at Jubilees, right, referencing Jubilees, things of that nature, and also all up in the Old Testament, you're at Leviticus 23, Deuteronomy 16, the Tinsdale, Deuteronomy 16.
Mm-hmm.
The next Sabbath, right, counting 50 days from the last day or after the last day of unleavened bread, it puts you right here.
Right in the middle of the month.
Right in the middle of the month. The second Sabbath of the month, right? We know there's 4 Sabbaths in every month, 4 divided by 2. You already know what it is, right? Right puts you right in the dead center of the middle of the third month. Right?
That is absolutely beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
Right. So that right there, we put it on the screen for everyone. We did the date, we calculated, just like anyone can do, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's what we got right there. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, man. That last little, I'm not a math guy, or that right there was beautiful. Like this whole lesson made it so clear to me, and so yeah, I don't want to muddy up by saying one more word.
And I'm just gonna put that on the screen if anyone wants to screenshot that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. So the fourth is 50 days from the Passover.
Mm-hmm.
And then this over here is 50 days in the middle of the month.
From unleavened bread.
Right. So you see that clear as day. But with that, I think that's all we got right there. I think that's pretty much says
That's
it.
all we need, man. That's beautiful, man. That's a wonderful, wonderful breakdown. I hope everyone enjoys. I hope no one has gotten offended. I hope that it helps. All praise to the Most High, Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. With that, we say shalom.
Shalom, shalom.